Ladies and gentlemen, she was thrust into the celebrity of the Kennedys at quite an early age, and the assassination of her husband, Robert Kennedy, brought tears to people across the globe. But Ethel Kennedy stayed strong. She stayed motivated to what she believed in, and was ended up being one of the most respected women of in America over the last 7 years. Unfortunately, Ethel Kennedy has passed away from complications from a stroke. She was an American human rights advocate in her many endeavors. The wife of U.S. Senator Robert F. Kennedy, a sister-in-law of President John F. Kennedy. She was the sixth child of George and Anne Skakel near Brannock. Shortly after her husband's assassination in 1968, she founded the Robert F. Kennedy Center for Justice and Human Rights, a nonprofit charity working to reach his goal of a just and peaceful world. In 2014, she was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom by President Obama. Now, again, educated at Manhattanville College, where she got her BA, the longtime Democrat was born in Chicago. Now, George, her father, was the founder of the Great Lakes Carbon Corporation, now a division of SGL Carbon. Her parents, unfortunately, were killed in a 1955 plane crash. Born April 11, 28, she's the third of the four Skakel daughters and the sixth born of 7 children. George, of course, was a Protestant of Dutch descent, and while Alan was a Catholic of Irish ancestry. Now, Ethel and her siblings were raised in Greenwich, Connecticut. She attended the all-girls Greenwich Academy and graduated for the Covenant of the Sacred Heart in the Bronx in 1945. In September of that year, she began her college education at Manhattanville College, where she was a classmate of her future sister-in-law, Jean Kennedy. She got a BA there in 1949. Now, Ethel first met Jean's brother Robert during a ski trip to all places, Mont Tremblant in Canada, in December 1945. During this trip, Robert began dating Ethel's older sister Patricia, but after that relationship ended, he began to date Ethel. She campaigned for Robert's older brother JFK in a 1946 campaign for Congress in Massachusetts' 11th Congressional District, and she wrote her college thesis on his book, Why England Slept. Now, Robert Kennedy and Ethel Skakel became engaged in February 1950 and were married in June of that year at the Catholic St. Mary Church in Greenwich. The Boston Globe noted that the marriage unites two large fortunes. Now, after Bobby graduated from law school, the family settled in Washington, and Robert went to work for the Justice Department. In 1952, Ethel and Robert moved into a rooming house in Boston, and she helped contribute to her brother-in-law's John Senate campaign by organizing tea parties for potential voters. Now, in 1956, the Kennedys purchased Hickory Hill from Robert's brother John and wife Jacqueline. Their 13-bedroom estate was situated on 6 acres in McLean, Virginia, which was west of Washington. Robert and Ethel held many gatherings at their home and were known for an impressive and eclectic guest lists. Ethel eventually sold Hickory Farm for $8.25 million in December 2009. The couple also owned a home in Hyannisport, Massachusetts, on Cape Cod. Now, in 1960, John F. Kennedy won the presidential vote, at which time he appointed Robert to the post of Attorney General. In 1962, President Kennedy assigned Ethel and Robert to tour 14 countries within a 28-day goodwill trip. Through the trip, though the trip was said to be informal, the host countries viewed Robert and her stand-ins for the President and First Lady. Now, unfortunately, on November 22nd, 1963, Ethel learned of her brother-in-law's assassination from her husband. She had answered the phone, identified the caller as FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover, and handed the phone to Robert, who then informed her of the shooting in Dallas. The FBI Director had never called the Attorney General's home before. Ethel was reportedly devastated by the assassination and worried for her niece and nephew. In 1964, she supported her husband while he campaigned for and won a seat in the Senate, representing New York. Now, during this campaign, Robert was accused of carpetbagging, and Ethel made light of the criticism by suggesting this slogan. There's only so much you can do for Massachusetts. She urged her husband to enter the Democratic primary for the 1968 presidential election. Biographer Evan Thomas portrayed her as Robert's most consistent advocate of a race for the White House. Now, shortly after midnight on June 5, 1968, he unfortunately was mortally wounded by Sirhan Sirhan at the Ambassador Hotel in L.A. after the California primary and died the following day at the young age of 42. President Lyndon B. Johnson declared a national day of mourning. Ethel sent Johnson a handwritten note on June 19th, thanking him and his wife, First Lady Bird Johnson, for the help they had given her and the Kennedy family. Following her husband's passing, Ethel publicly stated she would never marry again, and Ethel indeed never did, living her remaining 56 years as a widow. For a time, she was escorted to dinners, parties, and a theater by singer and family friend Andy Williams. Now, Robert and Ethel had 11 children over nearly 18 years of marriage. Kathleen, Joseph, Robert Jr., David, Courtney, Michael, Carey, Christopher, Maxwell, Douglas, and Rory, who was born after Robert was assassinated. She was enceinte during the passing. Kathleen served as Lieutenant Governor of Maryland from 95 to 03, and Joseph represented Massachusetts' 8th Congressional District in the U.S. House of Reps from 87 to 99, and Robert Jr. ran for president in the 2024 United States presidential lead-up. Her grandson, Joseph Kennedy III, also served in the House of Reps, representing Massachusetts' 4th Congressional District from 13 to 21. Two of Kennedy's sons, David and Michael, have died. David died from a drug overdose in 84, and Michael was killed in a skiing accident in 97. Now, Kennedy founded the Robert F. Kennedy Center for Justice and Human Rights in 1968, which is now known as the Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights. In February 2001, Kennedy visited Rodolfo Montiel and other peasant activists at her jail in Iguala, presenting Rodolfo with the Chico Mendes Award on behalf of the American environmental group, the Sierra Club. In March 2016, Kennedy was among hundreds who marched near the home of Wendy's chairman Nelson Peltz in Palm Beach, Florida, as part of an effort by the coalition of Imo Cali workers, a farm workers group, to convince the company to pay an additional 1 cent per pound of tomatoes to increase the wages of field workers. As of September 2018, Kennedy's daughter, Carrie, was president of the Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights. Now, during the late 70s, with her renewed commitment to public service, Ethel focused most of her time and energy on various social causes, including the Bedford Stuyvesant Restoration Project. In 92, Kennedy and her son Michael made a cameo appearance on the NBC sitcom Cheers in Boston. Now, during the 2008 Democratic Party presidential primaries, Kennedy endorsed Barack Obama. She publicly supported and held fundraisers at Hickory Hill for numerous politicians, that including Virginia gubernatorial candidate Brian Moran. Kennedy hosted a $6 million fundraiser for Obama at Hickory Hill in June 2008. The $28,500 a plate dinner was headlined by former Democratic presidential candidate and DNC chairman Howard Dean. Now, in 2012, Kennedy appeared in an award-winning documentary about her life, directed by her youngest child, daughter Rory. The documentary, entitled Ethel, covers Kennedy's early political involvement, her life with Robert, and the years following his death, when she raised 11 children on her own. It features interviews with Ethel and her children, interspersed with family videos and archival photos. Now, as of 2019, she resided at the Kennedy compound in Massachusetts. A practicing Catholic, she often attended Mass. Now, on October 3rd, 2024, Kennedy had a stroke and was hospitalized, and she died a week later at the age of 96. Now, in 81, President Ronald Reagan honored Kennedy with the Robert F. Kennedy Medal in the White House Rose Garden. In 2014, a bridge over the Anacostia River in Washington was renamed the Ethel Kennedy Bridge in her honor, a recognition of her advocacy for environmentalism and social causes in the DOC. Now, also in 2014, she was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom by Obama for her dedication to advancing the cause of social justice, human rights, environmental protection, and poverty reduction by creating countless ripples of hope to effect change around the world. Now, 1968 was a very tumultuous time, and Bobby's assassination, which could have easily been avoided because everybody was getting too close back then. It doesn't have the presidential security that we have now. That was just devastating. And not only in the States, but in Canada, we looked at Bobby sort of like as the kind of the moderate centrist, a little bit better than his brother in relation to international relations. A very anti-poverty guy. But things happen in his life you don't expect. But raising 11 children and having your husband murdered in such a public manner, I mean, I don't know how she survived, but she was a very, very smart lady. I've known members of the media, have had a chance to meet her, and some media friends of mine, and they say she was a shining light for the United States in many, many factors. 56 years a widow, and everything she did was to basically better the human condition. You wouldn't want that in a worst enemy, to be a widow from an assassination and 11 children to raise, including, one inside you. And it's like, but she will be dearly, dearly missed. One thing about the Kennedys, though, you did say the curse of the Kennedys, but if there was no Kennedy family, the world would be a much worse place. And Ethel, again, was a shining light for America and for human rights and for joy and love in this world. So, Ethel, you will be missed. If you like what you're doing here with our political podcast, let us know with a like, comment, subscribe, or share. Bye.